I'm Laura Cross of Rebel Seed Films and Entertainment. I'm the writer and producer of the short action war drama Devil Dogs. And in this special podcast, I have a conversation with an actor from the film. Today I'm talking with actor and U.S. Marine veteran Greg Duke, who plays Lance Corporal Hicks in Devil Dogs. Greg has been featured in the television shows Alias, Passions, General Hospital, and CSI Miami. He has a recurring role on Ray Donovan, and he can be seen alongside Bradley Cooper in American Sniper, the Clint Eastwood film about Chris Kyle, scheduled to be released in January 2015.
Hey, Greg, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I can't wait to talk about Devil Dogs, of course, but I want to jump way, way back to your childhood. You were born in San Diego, right?
Yes.
But you grew up in Chicago, and yet you seem like you're a real California guy. So tell us about growing up.
Everyone always says, you must be from California. And I said, well, actually, I was born in California, but I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in the Midwest. My dad was an architect, so what happened was he had a business in California and a business in Illinois. And when the market was really bad in California and they were giving away land, they were giving away property for really, really cheap, like for renting and stuff and so forth, he couldn't make money out here. California was not a place to make money. So he packed up and decided to go to Illinois. And so that's when we moved, and I moved to a town called Lake Forest, and he started his business fully in Chicago, and so I grew up there. But I always knew, and I always said it, even though I didn't spend that much time in San Diego, I'd be back to California, just because I just love the weather, I love the ocean, I love the mountains, and I just knew I was always destined to come back. Didn't know when, but I knew I was going to come back.
Yeah, as nice as Chicago is, as a city, there's really no surfing there.
No, there's no surfing on Lake Michigan, although it's fun to take the boats out and go tubing and skirting and all that stuff.
Yeah, so you're a big sports guy, starting way back as a kid and in high school, right?
Oh, yeah, I always played sports. Actually, I played sports. I started playing hockey when I was 4. And I started playing in California, surprisingly enough. And then when we moved to Chicago, I really got into it because the Midwest had a much larger hockey population. So I've been playing sports ever since I was 4 years old. And I can't remember a time that I didn't have, like, a stick in my hand, a ball in my hand, skates on my feet, or doing something. And I love sports, and I still do. And I played multiple sports at one time. I was always really, really, really busy with athletics. I'd be on multiple teams at one time. Like, I remember times my mom and I would talk about this. To this day, we still talk about this because, the actor lifestyle is really hectic, going from this audition to that audition and then having this and going to this lunch or whatever have you. And I remember my mom and I would talk about these times where I would literally have hockey practice at 5 a.m. I'd have school. She'd pick me up from school. I'd have basketball practice after that. Then I'd have baseball practice. Then I'd have basketball practice. And then I'd have, Cub Scouts. It did not stop. I would change in the car. She would bring food in the car. And it didn't stop. And
You're
those were normal days.
Every sport possible. It sounds
every sport possible, exactly.
Well, it actually is. It's a good discipline for what the career that you've gone into.
Oh, totally. Well, what's really funny is everything that I've done has kind of led me to the perfect spot, because I know we'll touch base on this later, but being in the military is a lot of hurry up and wait. And being on set is a lot of hurry up and wait. So, the parallel between that is so funny. And it's so funny to see people that have never been in that situation, and they get so frustrated, or they get so what's going on? What's going on? Why did I have to hurry up here? And it's just it's just part of the process.
Yeah, that is a big part of set life.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you were growing up, then were athletes and sport figures really your role models or your heroes?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like growing up in Chicago, I followed the Bears. I mean, I still follow the Chicago teams, but Blackhawks, Chicago Bears, the Bulls. Like I grew up in the era when Michael Jordan was playing, and Walter Payton was playing, and like those were like my idols. Like Walter Payton, Richard Dent, Mike Singletary, Jim McMahon, the '85 Bears. They won the Super Bowl and everything, so that was amazing. And they haven't done so well since, but that's okay. But the Bulls, the Blackhawks. My best friend growing up, her father was an he used to play for the Chicago Blackhawks. His name was Keith Magnuson. And, like as I was playing hockey, he would help me out, and he played for the Hawks. So it was such an honor to just be talking with him, and he'd help me out. And I was friends with his son, Kevin Magnuson, who was a phenomenal hockey player himself. And so it's just like my life always was surrounded by sports. No matter what facet, it was sports related. And it's really funny. When I was in fourth grade, I kind of got the acting bug. And it wasn't really on purpose. It was just because we had to do a play, and my personality was like, well, what's the play? Well, it was Tom Sawyer. All right, well, who do you want to be? Well, you've never acted before. Who do you want to be? Well, I want to be Tom. Like every scene you're in, you have to memorize like 120 pages.
I want to be the lead.
I want to be the lead. You don't want to be the tree or the boat or what. And no, I want to be Tom. But you never acted before. No, I don't care. I'll be able to do it. So we auditioned and everything like that, and I got it. And so I was like so excited, and I didn't realize, what it really was, because I'd played sports all my life, and these were people who had done acting. And so I practiced, which is very similar to sports, and you just rehearse, and then when it's game time, you perform. So being an athlete and being an actor are very similar in the same way as the preparation is key. Preparation is key to, excel when you actually are filming. And the more you practice, the better prepared you are. And so the same goes with sports. So the parallel between the two, really helped me out with that. But as an athlete, my coaches weren't too keen on me being an actor. So it wasn't, because they both take so much time. And if you want to be good at something, it takes a lot of time. So to spread the time, I really didn't have that kind of time to become both. So even though I wanted to do it, I love sports more. So I didn't continue with acting because I just didn't have the time. And but I still remember. I mean, I've done so much stuff in my whole life, but I still remember being Tom Sawyer was such like an important time in my life because it gave me the opportunity to kind of explore a whole different side of me that I really enjoyed, that I really loved doing. And it's funny, I think I even said it on set. I have a lot of energy, and I've always picked sports that kind of release that energy. I've always played like hockey, football, lacrosse, sports that really are compact driven. And I think sometimes when I get frustrated, I just want to hit something. And then I'm okay, like your frustration with whatever it is, and then you're okay. So like playing football, you get frustrated you to get into character. And I think I think you guys saw it. I don't know if you were watching the monitor or not, but in the last scene when I was trying to hit the snipers in the last scene of the movie, and I would psych myself up, and so I would start breathing really hard and. You mentally go to a totally different place. And because you mentally go there, you physically go there. And so the parallel between sports and that is totally similar too. So it's so funny when you are an athlete and then you become an actor or vice versa, you can really draw different techniques that you've used to psych yourself up for for moments when you're, completely exhausted, you've got no juice left, but you have one last play to do, or you have one last scene to do, or you have something that needs to be done. You mentally dig deep and totally sports related. I mean, that's what you have to do. So
it's amazing, yes, that it has served you so well as an actor, all of that background.
So, completely, yeah.
So coming out of high school and then going into college, you were really focusing on sports.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was focusing on sports. It's funny because when I was a sophomore, I didn't know where I wanted to go, and everyone was like, "Where are you going to go to school? Where are you going to go to school?" And I was like, "Well, maybe I'll play sports. I love sports, and maybe I'll play." And then I thought, well, maybe I won't play, and I'll concentrate more, like maybe on business or kind of the real world type of atmosphere. And so I was thinking about going to schools in California. I was looking at Pepperdine and UCLA and different schools of that nature. And because I wanted to go back to California. And I think, well, maybe I'll play football at UCLA. But I wasn't sure. I mean, I was only a sophomore. I still had some time to think about it. So then as junior year came and I started playing lacrosse, I played lacrosse all 4 years. But my junior year, my sophomore to junior year, I really excelled. And so then schools started calling to be recruited for hockey and lacrosse, some schools for football, but I wasn't too concerned with football because that's not something I wanted to do in college or professionally, so I didn't really concentrate too much on that. I loved playing hockey and lacrosse. So my objectives completely changed, and I'm like, well, I think I want to play lacrosse in school or hockey. I wasn't 100% sure which one. So then I started getting calls from really, really good schools for lacrosse. And I realized, okay, well, that's what I'm getting recruited more for. So I started looking at that, and all the schools that I was getting recruited for were on the East Coast. So I was like, I really want to go to the West Coast, but no one's offering me anything because lacrosse wasn't that big out west, and everything was East Coast. And, these were really top-notch schools, so I wasn't too worried about, I can always go to California later. I guess my time's not right there yet. But I always wanted to go, I still had that inkling to go. So I got recruited by some big schools, and I decided to go to Syracuse. And Syracuse had the best lacrosse program in the nation, and they had been to the Final Four the most consecutive times in history, and they had an amazing coach, Roy Simmons Jr. had been there forever and had, tutored so many amazing lacrosse players. So it was like an honor to play for him. So I went on my recruiting trip. I met him. I met the guys, and I'm like, I totally want to go here. Completely. I love it. And so I did. I was looking at other schools like Virginia, Duke, Maryland, Hopkins. I was looking at some other schools, but I loved Roy Simmons Jr., and his assistant coach was John Desko, and I loved both of them. And that was really important to me, too, that I actually liked the surroundings, not just it was a good athletic program. And so went there, had an amazing time, concentrated on sports, not acting at all, and won a national championship, did everything that as an athlete you want to do in school. I played football my freshman year, but then decided that, well, I didn't decide, but they decided kind of like, you got to pick one. So it wasn't, I was more inclined to play lacrosse than football anyway. So, but the environment was so electric. It was amazing. So then after I graduated, having won a national championship and really done everything that I possibly could as a collegiate athlete, I went into the Marine Corps. And it was funny how I joined the Marine Corps because I wanted to go into service, but I didn't know which service. And my father had been in the Air Force. And I thought, well, it would be cool to be a fighter pilot, but no, I don't really. What is I did a lot of research on a lot of different avenues that you could go to after if the Marine Corps wasn't really what you wanted. So to make a long story short, I really wanted to go into the FBI at the time, and the pool of candidates that they draw from is from the Marine Corps. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll go into the Marine Corps, and if I originally I wanted to stay in for 20 years and then make a lateral move and go into the FBI. So I thought I had everything planned out. I was like, this is perfect. And so then I joined the Marine Corps. I already had a college degree, and everyone's go officer. And I said, no, I'm going to go Mustang. And Mustang means you go and enlist it, you get the respect of the guys, you get hands-on, and then you can go to OCS, which is Officer Candidate School. So I was like, okay, that's what I want to do, because I'm very hands-on. I don't like to read a book and learn about it. I want to like be in there and get my hands dirty and learn from the guys that are actually doing it. If I'm going to tell someone to do something, I want to do it first. So I did that. I went in and I went under the, it's called MOS. I went under Yankee White. And Yankee White is, you're stationed at the White House. And you are in direct relation with the FBI, with the Secret Service, with every agency really that is in Washington. And so I went into that with the whole reason to get pulled by the FBI, because I was going to be affiliated with them anyway, so it would have been a good foot in the door. So as life happens, and no matter how well you prepare or how well you train for something, other things happen. So as I was going through my schooling, I did really well with marksmanship and certain things, my aptitude tests. And so they pulled me to be a sniper. And as I was going through that, I got injured. And everything, like my entire life, stopped and was crushed. And I will say that was probably, besides my dad dying when I was 10, that was probably the hardest thing to accept when you're, in your early 20s, preparing for what you're going to do in life and loving every minute of it and loving the guys and loving the atmosphere. And it's being like back in like a fraternity athletic program, because everyone in the Marine Corps, especially in that unit, was so physically fit. And you have these bonds that same as when you form like on sets when you're shooting for long periods of time, or even when you're not, just the bonds that you form. Imagine being with someone that you have to trust your life to them. Your bond with them is intense. So at that moment when I got injured, it's like everything comes to a screeching halt, and you have to prioritize differently. So I say that very lax right now, but I was devastated for quite some time. So,
and you were, my understanding was you were hiding your injury even because you didn't want
to. Yeah, I was. Because basically I wanted to go to my next schooling, which was going to be at Quantico. And so once I got to my next schooling, I could tell them, and it wouldn't set me back at all. But if you get injured and you're still in the schooling that I was in North Carolina, you'd have to start the process all over again, and you'd have to go get medical treatment, and you couldn't leave. And I wanted to progress. I didn't want to regress. So I wanted to hide it. I didn't want to tell anyone because I was so close to finishing this schooling and moving forward. And that's the key to anything, is you want to move forward. You don't want to like stay in the same stagnant pool. And so I didn't tell anyone. I mean, the guys in my unit knew and everything, but I didn't tell any of the higher ups. So it kind of bit me in the ass, and no matter what, whether I would have said it, 2 weeks later, or I would have said it then, they would have like discharged me anyway because the injury was so bad. But it was a devastating thing. But I learned so much about myself, and I learned how to cope with a lot of disappointment and tragedy and loss with that. Even though it wasn't the loss of someone else, it was the loss of like myself and who I was and what I was going for. And it completely changed my path in life. So
is that what that kicked you onto the course of being an actor and focusing on that?
Well, it kicked me, yeah, in a roundabout way it did, because I had to go to rehab, and I had to go to Florida to do the rehab. And so it was actually, I was on the beach in Florida, in Clearwater, and this woman, and I was going through rehab, and I was with another Marine at the time, And we were just walking, and it was really good to walk on the sand because it helps your Achilles tendon, it helps your plantar fascia, it helps your feet, it helps to strengthen your feet when you don't wear shoes, and you can actually grip with the sand. So it was actually, I was going through rehab, but that was actually just my own on the side. It was during the weekend. I wasn't at a rehab facility per se when I was doing this. So this woman came up to me and she's like, have you ever done any modeling? And I'm like, no, but I was going to model when I was in high school and in college. Different people had approached me, but I was always doing sports. Sports had always kind of dominated my life. So she's like, well, would you consider doing some? I'm like, sure. You know, what do you want? And she's like, well, I own a salon, and I was wondering if you'd be my hair model. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting because I don't really have that much hair, although my hair had grown out a little bit. So to make it a long story short, she had like the #1 hair salon in Clearwater, and it was like this big to-do, and like the mayor was there, and it was in the paper, and blah, blah. And so it was much more than I had thought. And so all I did was wear a suit and then wear like a T-shirt and get my hair cut and this and that, take some pictures and smile. And I was like, this is fun, you know? Like, so then I got called.
It's a lot easier than being a Marine.
Right, exactly. Then I got called by a small agency in Florida, and they're like, would you come in and model for us? And it was a really small boutique agency, and I was like, sure. Well, they first said, come in, we want to meet you. So I did, and then I started modeling on different networks, and I started I had a consistent gig on HSN, which was so much fun, and I modeled for this hot tub. So my job was I would sit in a hot tub for 10 minutes every hour or every other hour for this TV show with this gorgeous model named Christine, and we hit it off. She was so fun. She was so cool. So we'd sit there and talk as we're in a hot tub, and we got paid. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is an amazing life. And then you go back in, you have something to eat, you sit around, you talk with other people that are in the green room. And I'm like, oh, my God, I love this. So I had that gig for a little bit, and then I wanted more. So I decided that I was going to move out to California. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move out to California. And I came out here, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. I started doing bartending, started doing personal training because I was a personal trainer in Florida. And also I knew so much about personal training. So to make some money, I did that. And it's really hard to get in the industry because it's like a catch-22 for actors. Like, you want SAG jobs, but you can't work SAG until you have your SAG vouchers, and you can't get SAG. You can't work on SAG projects unless you're SAG.
Exactly.
So it's like, well, how the heck do you get in, So it's like you got to put your time in, you got to do this, you got to do background. So I started, as every actor does, you start out doing background. Well, maybe not every actor, but I did. So I started going, I think it's called background casting, something. I can't remember what it's called. But it's like the biggest background casting in LA. So I joined with them. I joined with a bunch of different smaller ones just so to get work. So I did this job, and I'll never forget it. This was like welcome to Hollywood. So I did this job. I was in getting my paperwork at, oh, now it's going to bug me. I can't remember the name of it. Do you know what it's called? It's for background work.
Central casting or something.
That's it. Central casting.
Oh, that's it. Central casting.
Yeah, that's it. Good job. So central casting. So, there's so many people that come out to California to become actors. So everyone goes there, and there's a time that you have to go there to sign up, and you have to go there in person. So I went there. It was like the longest line in history, and I went there super early, and everyone gets there super early, I guess. So I'm waiting in line, and I'm like, I guess this is the way it is. So I'm waiting in line, and like literally like 3-4 hours go by. So finally I get in. But I'm used to waiting because I was in the military, So again, this is where it comes in handy that you've experienced this before. So it's hurry up, get there by 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and then wait. So everyone in line's like bitching and moaning, and this is bullshit, and I didn't come out here to wait in line, and blah, blah, and I'm just like, well, it's kind of par for the course, So
I'm going through. So finally I get to the person that I'm supposed to talk with, give him my picture, give him all my information, and pay for it. So I was really cool with the person, and everyone was like so bitchy, and they had such attitudes. So the person's like, I can't believe how cool you are. Like, you're so calm. Like, aren't you, like, you're the first person I've met that isn't like yelling at me because they were waiting for so long. And I'm like, well, I just figured this is all part of it, you know? And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna hook you up because you're so cool. Like, you're cool to me. I'm gonna be cool to you. So the way that works is, I guess certain people can put you on certain lists to be picked for certain roles. And, you know, it's like anything. Like, the people that you know can help you out or they can't. So this guy put me on a list for a movie that they needed background for that possibly could get bumped up the SAG. So at this point, I'm like, I didn't really know what that meant. But now I do. And now I know that he hooked me up so much. So I went on a movie, and it was called Bewitched. And it was starring Will Ferrell and
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman, yes. And I was on set for 3 weeks. And I was like, oh, my God, this is amazing. So I'm Will Ferrell's assistant. And I get my SAG voucher on the third day. They were like, okay, whoever's not SAG, we're going to give you a SAG voucher. You need 3 of them to become SAG, and then you're good. So I'm doing the movie for 3 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in this like blockbuster movie. Will Ferrell's in it. It's like super funny. It's going to be awesome. So of course, like a newbie, like a rookie, I tell everyone, check this out. I'm going to be in this movie. I moved out to California. I'm going to be in this movie. Well, little did I know that there's a thing called editing. And sometimes you're in a movie, and sometimes you're not in a movie. And it all depends on an editor. And then later I found out that when you make a movie, you actually make 3 movies. You've got the idea of the movie, you write the script, you film it, that's the second movie, and then you edit it, and that's the third movie. So sometimes they all look the same, and sometimes they're all 3 different. So I tell everyone I'm in this movie, I'm so excited. But I was working, so I didn't go to see it when it came out. So I told my mom, and she went with all of her friends and my sister and all my friends back home and blah, blah. So I get a phone call that night. It's like, Greg, that's so amazing that you were in this movie, but where exactly were you? Because we watched it. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I filmed for 3 weeks. How could I not? What do you mean? I didn't understand. So then I watched the movie, and I'm like, oh, my God, they cut out, like every scene I was in, every single scene I was in, like, because I was only in 2 situations that was with Will Ferrell. And I'm like, I was right next to him. The entire time how could I be cut out? So then I talked to more people that were in the industry, and like, oh, my God, that happens all the time. You have no idea. So I learned very early on, never tell anyone you're in something until you actually see it. So that was my first lesson in Hollywood.
But you did get your SAG, right? You got in the union.
Yes.
Which is important.
But then I learned the second thing, which was sometimes it's not, when you're first starting out, sometimes it's not best to become SAG. And a lot of people that come out here, they realize that. Because once you become SAG, you can only work on SAG projects. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they don't have as many SAG projects as non-union projects, and non-unions always there's like 20,000 things going on non-union, and then SAG it's sometimes good, sometimes bad. It depends on the time. And so then as a non-union person, I was working all the time, and then once I became SAG, my work, even though I was getting paid more, my work started slowing down. So then I was like, well, I don't know if I really want to do this background stuff. So I started doing I did a couple movies, and they bumped me from the movie completely. And I was like, well, why did they do that? And they said, because you need to go to acting class, and you need to become an actor. You don't need to be background. And I remember a producer on this movie told me that. And because I didn't understand, they paid me because I was a featured extra and everything like that, but they didn't use me at all. And I didn't understand why. So then I was like, all right. And then I didn't really I was contemplating whether I really wanted to do it, whether I didn't. I was making a lot of money bartending. So I was in the gym, and it was in 24 Fitness in Sherman Oaks, and I'm working out, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to still continue with the whole acting thing. Like, I thought it was fun. I was having a great time, but I wasn't really acting. I was doing background, so I didn't really understand that wasn't, there's more to it than just that. And I knew there was, but, like, I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was kind of in a crossroads in my whole life. So this girl comes up to me, and she's like, "Are you an actor?" And I was like, "Yes." But I was thinking, am I an actor? Like, I don't really know if I am. But I said yes anyway. And she's like, "Well, I'm writing this movie, and I think you'd be perfect for it." And this had happened to me a couple other times with different things, and I'm like, "Oh, sure, like, this is." I wasn't jaded, but I was like, "Oh, this line again, like, this is." People say stuff all the time out here, and it really, sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. So I was like, okay, like, well, let's meet for lunch. So a week goes by, she doesn't call. Another week goes by, she doesn't call. So I'm like, oh, well, it's another one of those. So then she calls, and she's like, okay, well, I want you to meet the director, and I want you to read, and blah, blah. And so I was like, oh, so she's for real. So then I decided, you know what, I'm going to meet her, I'm going to meet him, I'm going to read the script, see what it's all about. Because, again, this was a time where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I was making a lot of money, doing other things with the bartending and my training. And I thought, well, maybe I'll become like a trainer. Like, I could possibly do that and open up my own gym. And I was thinking long-term again. So I meet her, meet him, I meet the family, and it's like this story about her brother and his life and what he went through and what the family went through. And she's like, I want you to play my brother. And I read it, and it was, like, super powerful. I really liked her a lot. I liked her family. I liked the director. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I did it, and we filmed for months. And that was, like, kind of like the pivotal point in my life when I was like, oh, my God, I love acting. Like, I love this. What I just did, I love. The other thing that I did, not so much. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do. Kind of like with the whole modeling thing. Like, it's fun, but it doesn't, like, I need to be more challenged than that. Like, I mean, for some people it's fantastic. And don't get me wrong, it's a great career. It's fun. It's a lot of different things. But I wanted to act, and I didn't really know that until I did this. And it was like, it was amazing. I loved going every day to go to a set, and I loved the interaction that we had, the bonds that we formed, and the just, like, transforming into someone else for a short period of time and, like, living someone else's life and experiencing everything but not having the repercussions of the actions that you did. For example, one of the things that I had to do was I had to go to a rehab facility, and I had to live there, and I had to experience it and talk with the people and talk with them about all the addictions that they had. And I went to AA, and I experienced what it was, the outside of what it was like to be an addict. And I met with different people that were so giving of their time and so giving of the information they were sharing with me about their lives for this role. And because I had never done, the certain drugs that were used in this movie. And so I wanted to try to get a really good perspective of what it's like and what it does to your body, what it does to your mind, and what it does to your psyche, and really experiencing it without having to experience. So it was an amazing, amazing experience. And I loved it, and I said, oh, my God, this is totally what I want to do. So I started going to acting class religiously and started really putting my time and effort into it. And again, like anything, it takes practice. So as much as I could practice and get with groups and get with different people to run lines and rehearse and do this and be with the atmosphere of that, I was like, this is totally what I want to do. And then different jobs started coming, and, I just realized this is, even though it's a very, very difficult career to follow, and not very many people actually make it, the statistics are actually
pretty devastating. But you can't really listen to that. So I decided this is totally what I want to do, and I love it. So that was the two pivotal points in my acting career was when I was in fourth grade, played Tom Sawyer, and then when I got the lead in this movie where I played, the movie's called Play James Play. And like a lot of things in Hollywood, it comes down to financing. So it's coming out next year. It's been a process as far as how long it's taken to finish the film. It's finished. We filmed everything, but it comes down, like I was saying earlier, to editing. And editing is extremely expensive for a full feature film. So,
well, at least we know you won't be edited out of this one since you're the lead.
Yes, exactly. If I am, it'll be a completely different film.
And you've done quite a bit of television as well, and you recently did a Clint Eastwood film, and we don't know because that hasn't been edited yet, but
no, I don't think it'll be edited out of that.
You won't be edited out of American Sniper, which is the Chris Kyle story.
That's right. Which is such an incredible story, and it was such an amazing time working with Clint and being on set with Bradley Cooper, because he's a phenomenal actor. And you don't really realize the power that both those people, especially Clint. I mean, watching him on screen is one thing, and then watching him direct and be so involved and so in the moment with the actors is a completely different phenomenon. And it was like being in the presence of a living legend. And everything that he said, he doesn't talk a lot, but everything he said had such merit and such power. And it was just like his crew was so well tuned. Like they knew exactly what everyone was going to do. They had been working together. I mean, his unit has been, I guess, working together for years, and so they're so well oiled. It's like a well-oiled machine. But there was, like, I've been on a lot of sets now, and there's a lot of drama that goes on sets, and that set had so many people on it, but was so well organized and so well run that you would have thought like it was 10 people on a set, and there was probably 1,000 people on that set. You know, between all of the different services that were there, all of the different background and extras, all of the actors, all of the hair and makeup, all of the set design, all of, you know, everyone that was there. And then they had, like we had on our film, they had different sets of military consultants on set, because we were doing a lot of different things that they needed different consultants for. So it was incredible. It really was. It was such an honor to be part of that whole process.
And that, I think, comes out in January, so we'll be able to see
American
Sniper
that'll
in January.
be in January.
And Devil Dogs has a bit of a tie-in with American Sniper in the fact that I found the location to shoot our Fallujah set.
Yes.
Based on Clint Eastwood, and Warner Brothers had used one of the movie sets, and I read an article for American Sniper. And
yes.
God bless Clint and Warner Brothers, because they built a set and they didn't tear it down, and we were able to use some of the same places there. So in Devil Dogs, you play Hicks. You get to be a Marine, which
yes.
obviously you have the background for. What why did you want to be involved in this project? What drew you to it?
Well, I mean, when Richard, my manager, first brought it to me, I was like, anytime there's a military project, because I still have that inkling that I really loved being in the Marine Corps. Like, if I didn't get hurt, I would probably still be in. And anytime there's a movie that is revolved around in a positive way, that's revolved around any military occupation, whether it's Marine Corps or Navy SEAL or, you know, Force Recon or anything like that, I'm interested, because I love the atmosphere. I love the people that it brings, because there's a certain type of personality and a certain type of person that plays those roles. And it's very similar to the people that actually go into the service. And, I was interested in it because it had to do with being a Marine, and I wanted to read it. And when I read it, and what I liked the most is the second script that I read because I didn't die.
Yes, we saved you. You have the director to thank for that. He was adamant that you couldn't die.
I have to thank Lindsay. But the whole thing I loved. I loved it. And going into the audition and meeting you guys, and also the way that you did the audition, I really liked. And
yeah, it was a different type of audition for sure. We didn't audition actors individually. We threw you in a group for good or worse.
No, but it was really great how you did it, because it immediately gave like a sense of camaraderie with everyone, and you could kind of see how different units would start gelling right away. And I mean, the group that I read with was really great, and I mean, they could have been in the movie as well, but it was so much fun. And I thought that, I think this is going to be a fantastic project. So then when I was lucky enough to get picked for the role of Hicks, I was super excited. So, the whole thing was just a win-win. That's really why I picked it, because it had to do with Marine Corps. I really liked the script. You did such a great job writing it. It was very real. I really liked you guys as a group when we went in to read, and I liked how you guys read us. So that all the combination of all that, and I was just very fortunate that you guys picked me to play Hicks. And then when I got on set and I met Michael and Andreas and everyone, it was just it was awesome. And then I will have to say, being on set with everyone, and it was so much like being in the movie. I mean, being really in the Marine Corps, because, and I'm sure the listeners will understand this after they see the movie or whatever, but or maybe even listening to the other podcasts. But there's a brotherhood that forms, and there was one character that I absolutely love, Juarez, and he is awesome. I love the guy so much, but like anything that would go wrong, it started with him, and we'd always just say fucking Juarez. So it became like this running joke. Whatever happened, like something didn't work out, or something malfunctioned, or something fell off, or there wasn't something that went right, it'd be fucking Juarez. Like it was exactly the way like guys in the Marine Corps would act. Like, because you've got this kind of, you're in a situation that is so intense and so crazy and so like everything's got to be perfect or someone could die, but you have so much fun in the moments that don't need to be serious. And so as we're acting, we're doing it, and we're really living a situation where we're getting fired on, and it's life and death and this and that. Even though we're acting, our brains are feeling this. In the outtakes and in the cuts, and as we're going back to one, we'll joke with Juarez, and everyone did it, and even Lindsay got into it a little bit. It was just so much fun, the camaraderie between all the guys.
Yeah, you were definitely like great. A real band of brothers on set.
It was. It totally was.
Fucking Juarez. I think that could probably end up being the tagline for the movie.
It completely could. I mean, and everyone was so great at their role. Everyone. I mean, what I was really happy with was when John Pistone got put in and to play Sergeant O'Brien. And when we were reading originally, I really liked him a lot. We clicked, and he was quiet because he kind of like just was kind of standoffish. And then as he got more in tune with everyone, he started speaking up more. But I liked his demeanor. I liked him a lot, and I liked everyone. But I mean, there was definitely a sense of these guys have been together for a while, as far as my interpretation of it. You know, when I first met Andrew, he was so nice, and I remember him from the audition, and he was such a sweet guy. And then when we got out there, he was such a jokester, and it was just like I loved the transition that everybody made as we were on set, and it was just such a great group. I really enjoyed being part of it.
Yeah, it's amazing how well you guys bonded, and it just made a huge difference, and it shows in the footage because we're editing some of the footage now, and it just makes such a huge difference that it looks like you really are. This group of this fire team of Marines. So, what attracted you to Hicks, and are there any similarities between you and Hicks?
Well, I would say Hicks and I are I mean, I am Hicks. When I was reading it, I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking me. Like, it was just very funny because the way that I viewed Hicks, and whether you wrote it this way or not, this is how I viewed him. He was a very alpha male, very confident, very hardcore, balls to the wall Marine who didn't take shit from anyone, but knew when to give it and when not to, and knew who could get it and who couldn't. And he was the type of guy who was like a guy's guy who could joke and mess around and be funny at one moment, but then turn completely serious and realize, you know, like, we're here for a mission. We're not here just to, you know, joke around here. And he was the kind of like a silent leader. Like, he led more by his actions than by like, oh, follow me, follow me, follow me. Like, he wasn't about to have someone do something that he wouldn't do himself. And he was kind of the glue that held everyone. Juarez looked up to him, and he was really, really, really tight with Andreas, who was Hernandez in the movie. And as I was reading this, I remember I was very, very tight with a Marine called Riddle. His last name was Riddle, and we were like brothers. Like, literally everything that we did together, and we were pretty much neck and neck on everything. Whether it was, you know, we were fighting for who had the best PT score, or who had the best marksmanship, or who could outlast each other on the obstacle runs, or who had the best, whatever it be. We were always in competition, but it was friendly competition, and we were pushing each other to get better. But we were like so close. We were brothers, basically. And so that's how I envisioned Hernandez and my relationship. And then there was in my unit back when I was in the Marine Corps, there was a character that was exactly like Andrew, who was Keller. And he was quiet. He was very philosophical, and he was just kind of like a good energy, and he was always reliable, and you just always knew you could count on him. And then we had a guy just like Juarez. So it was very funny because I could, if I were to pick anyone in the script that I could relate to the most, it was hands down Hicks, without a doubt. I don't know if I could really related to any of the other characters as much as my personality is totally Hicks. And you know, I could have been Hernandez in a way, although we'd have to change the name. But you
did learn some Spanish.
I did learn some Spanish. I did, which was so funny because I would ask Andreas how to pronounce something, and he's like, I don't fucking know, man. I don't really know Spanish. So it was more Lindsay that was teaching me. He was so great too. He was so much fun to work with.
So you know, a script is really just a blueprint, and it really doesn't come to life until the actors bring it to life. You know, what do you think that you brought to the role that just wasn't on the page? You're
absolutely right. The A script is, I mean, you said it perfectly. It is a blueprint of what the director and the writer and the people that are involved in the background are envisioning for what they want. What I brought and what every other person brought was who they were. And good or bad, that's what they brought. And I felt that each day that I was there, that I brought who I portrayed Hicks to be, the energy that he had, the life that he had, the desire that he had, the discipline that he had, the admiration for his opponent. Because any athlete that you ever look at, and military person, that's not usually, and this is very interesting because I've read up on a lot of historical figures in the military, a lot of upper echelon military people will respect their opponent. They will respect the way that they think, the strategies that they use, how they prepare, but it's the actual respecting of the strategy and the discipline and really, as you wrote it, the determination and the courage to do what they do because they believe they're doing the right thing. And it's just kind of like getting to the bottom of it. And I felt like you had really written that perfectly, and you understood that, whether you realized that you wrote that or you were just, whatever it came to your mind that you thought that would be perfect for, you really nailed it. And so when you had me in my trance and I was talking about, being in that room and sitting there and waiting for hours for that moment when a Marine walks through that door just so they can kill an American. I mean, the way that you had written that was so moving because you could feel it. And so my job was to take those words and really bring them to life and make your words mean something. Because when you read something, you interpret it how you say it or how you view it. But when you watch something, you interpret it how the person is interpreting it. So if I'm saying it as I'm admiring them and I'm saying it with like resolve and determination and like a way that I really respect them, but also they need to fear me because I am just as deadly as them, but it is my job to do that. I'm not doing it because I think that like my country's being invaded or whatever. However someone interprets my interpretation of it, my job was to take it how I thought that you wanted it and make it my own and make it come to life. So I hope that I was able to take your words and make them to where you were happy with the way that it was presented. But the only thing that I could do was take it and chew it up and spit it out the way that it came to me. So I tried to do that to the best of my ability and really live.
And your delivery in that scene is so poignant and powerful, and you can see it in the footage, and we're so excited about that scene.
Oh, so, good.
So yeah, I think it's really going to play well.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this is more about the actors, this podcast, but I just want to say I think you did a phenomenal job writing it, and I really do. I think you did a really, really, really fantastic job writing it, especially not being in the military, not being in that atmosphere. The way that you wrote it.
Not even being a guy.
Not even being a guy. I mean, you really did a phenomenal job writing that. So
thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We'll give you extra credit for that. So, thank you so much for being here today. Talk to us about what you've got coming up. I know you've got a recurring role on Ray Donovan. People can see that.
Yes,
show
I was super excited when I found that out. I was really, this show it's unbelievable. It has got such a cult following. It's amazing, really. But it's such an honor to be part of this show because it's such a great show, and it's such a great group of people. I met Liev for the first time when we were shooting. I'd never met him before, but I was a big fan of his work. And I will have to say he is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Like, he's very professional. He's very about his craft. He's very about being making the scene believable and being right with the scene, not necessarily him being right, but the scene being right. Like, he wants it to be as if it really were to happen. And I want to say that there was a moment that, I was extremely like shocked that he would even say this. Like, there was a moment where we were talking about how the scene should go, and he asked me what I thought. And he's the star of the show. It could go however the fuck he wants it to. He is the reason people watch the show. Although there are other phenomenal actors, Liev is it. John Boyd's an incredible actor as well, but Liev was in the scene with me, or I should say I was in the scene with him. And, we were talking before we shot, and he said, he goes, Anne, who is the writer, and which she is amazing to begin with, he goes, and Greg and I were talking, and we think that, tell us what you think. This is what we were thinking, that it should go like this. So the fact that, maybe to me it meant a lot, because he wanted to know what I thought. He had enough respect for me as his opposite actor to see if I thought that this the way it should go. And it just goes to show you, like, the atmosphere that show has. The fact that he would say, do you feel comfortable with this, or what do you think that we should do in this scene, or so whatever. And then he ran it by the writer, and she's like, yeah, whatever you guys think, if that's how it's going to work, let's do it. And so the way that they were so malleable that you could just work with them, and it was so easy as far as their consideration of making it work. Not that they had to be right, but to make it work. So it was just really cool to see that an actor of his stature could be like, what do you think? As just someone that's coming on for the first time. He's never worked with me before. And he actually was, wondered what I thought of the scene. So that just made me feel like, wow, this guy, he is as cool as he seems. And acting-wise, he's phenomenal, and I'm just really happy that he got the show, because I've liked him in so many other things that he's been in. So
he's a phenomenal actor, and it sounds like it's a great set and a wonderful collaborative effort. So, congratulations on that. And
thank you so much.
I'm watching the time, because I know we've got a deadline, and you've got auditions to do today.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate
Thank you so much for having me.
And is there any last thing that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Go out and watch the movie when it comes out, and enjoy every minute of it, because we enjoyed every minute of making it.
All right. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.